adjust my music here. Alright, yeah, couldn't hear myself speak, believe it or not. Right, I'm going to be tackling CSS today. I'm actually in Visual Studio Code, not usually my editor. I usually use Atom, but I decided to give this a shot. I know it's familiar to most coders out there these days, so I decided to give it a shot this evening. I was playing around with it before the stream to get everything set up and in place. So yeah, as I mentioned, we're going to be tackling some CSS projects this evening. So if you like, you can drop your questions, comments, etc. in the chat, and I will try to answer as best as I can. First project I'm going to be working on this evening is called Pineapple CSS. It's a CSS framework. You should be able to see it on the screen currently. I'm not sure. Let me just check something here. I believe you should be able to zoom in, right? Yeah, just had to double check that. Shortcuts are a little different from Atom, even though I installed an extension to get Atom's shortcuts. And it's not zooming as cleanly in my opinion, but hey, at least you should be able to see the code a little better than before. But yeah, as I was saying, Pineapple CSS is a CSS framework that I started working on probably a few months ago now, and I don't really have like a particular vision in mind for it per se, so it will change as it grows and that kind of stuff, but we'll see where this goes. Basically, what I'm trying to demonstrate in this though is the use of CSS custom properties, aka variables, which you can see here on the right hand side of the screen. And basically just almost everything in Pineapple CSS will use custom properties to basically, you know, determine how everything looks and works and all that, so that you can actually then adjust anything you want by just changing the values in those custom properties, which is how I develop most of my frameworks, my modern frameworks at least, because I don't try to support Internet Explorer. So if that's what you're looking for, tough luck. But CSS custom properties are supported in pretty much all modern browsers, so I use them in just about all my projects these days. And as I would have mentioned, the reason for that is you can swap out stuff pretty quickly. And if you follow me on dev.to.tool, you can find I wouldn't heard anything about tool posts so far about that. We're using custom properties to like create themes, like dark light themes, etc. And I'm going to be producing more content like that in the near future, possibly even this week. We'll see how that goes. But I have some stuff in the works I started right already, where I'm going to tackle that even further. So today, as I said, you'll get to watch me building this project, and I also may tackle a theme that I started to work on the stream. Well, you could call it a template, a theme, whichever. Depends on which word you prefer to use. I started working on that also probably a month or so ago, called Cucumber. I'm going to be working on that possibly in this stream as well. Alright, so with all of that said, let me get to coding. What I wanted to add is well, not default, but a class to give these articles a new look. So in fact, let me call this Pineapple article. nicely as RGB a lot as opposed to say using like hex values. I don't use hex values that often in my stuff because that's just not something I'm particularly familiar with, at least offhand, but I'm very familiar with RGB values because I work with them in like my art and stuff like that, so that's why you won't see me using them as much. I need to check something here though because oh, I see what I did. I didn't remember that I had added a media query to change how these function at different heights. So for the time being, I'll actually change that. Right, because I need to see all these side by side. I'll change that back later once I remember. Though these two should be side by side, so I'll need to figure out why they're not side by side. Alright, so I don't see any margins here on these. I do see one problem though, they don't have box sizing enabled. There we go. I wonder why the first one looks so different. Well, it has a paragraph in it, so I can take that. In fact, instead of taking it out, let me make this have paragraphs in each one, because it should. Semantic and all that stuff. This now should be next to this, so I need to figure out what I did wrong there. Puzzling. Can't see anything that should cause this one to come below the other one. It should be next to it. Let me try something. If I turn off, oops, if I turn off this, I didn't realize I pressed the arrow key there just now. Alright, so the borders are not making the difference. Then yeah, they can't be making a difference because these are displaying side by side as they should, so something is wrong with this one. Let me take out the clamp on this and see if it is being made greater. Yep, it was. Alright, so the problem was that was somehow being made greater than 10%, which means that it's probably working technically as it should, but I probably shouldn't use clamp then instead. I mean, that's technically not ideal, not using clamp, because these could then fall below reasonable width, but at least the best thing is you still end up with a reliable set of widths that you can always remember, always rely on, so I'll leave it at this for now. I may change that in the future though after some further testing, but not on stream, not going through all that work today. Alright, that's good. That's that for those. Let me add some other styles now as well. So we're going to add a new class called Major Block. Put it underneath Pineapple Article. Technically, you know what, I should probably put this in its own section. So that's what I'll do. To install an extension to have these match, these brackets match, or elements really. Using the margin, is it? Oh, I see what happened. How did this get here? That's weird. Alright, that was fixed. Now, does it need padding? Yes, it does. then again, no. Yeah, let me leave out padding for that. I'll just leave the major block like that and give it a border. I'm gonna have two different styles for this. One will be for a header that's just by itself anywhere on the page, and the other one will be in major block. So I'll duplicate that and add major block. Oops, that's document. Right, so default style, so this height, so 350 pixels. Then again, it may use character height instead. So, well, what I should do, just so I can see this, I can take it back out later, but I just need to be able to see it before I move on. All of these, well, not all, but some of these will be converted to variables there, and just quickly prototyping what it should look like. Background color. I'm going to make the background color match the background color of the nav, so I just need to find where that is. This evening, as per usual these last few weeks, is from Creators Live on YouTube. You can check out their YouTube channel. They produce free Afrobeats for content creators. They also do sound effects as well. I haven't had any need to use their sound effects, so I'm just using their music, obviously. I will post the link to the playlist I'm using currently actually in the chat. Just give me a second. It's actually called Cam Tracks, this particular playlist. Just clicked on the wrong thing. Alright, so there's the link to their Cam Tracks playlist, and I'm going to post the link to the channel now. Oops, sorry, they're playing two different things at the same time. That was accidental. Yeah. I'm going to be switching the playlist shortly too because it's almost at the end. Alright, so back to coding. This background color is going to be drawn from another variable, which should be pineapple. I think it's peachy color. By the way, sorry that I zoomed back up on the screen. There is a reason I did that. Basically, the preview up here was being kind of stretched and wasn't working like I wanted to, so I put it back small, but I hope you can still see. Alright, there we go. I got the right color for the header and the right color for the nav. Obviously I had this variable before, but never actually put it up here. I don't know why that is. Oh, I see what happened. I have it in the wrong location. Alright, so let me move these down, and that should solve that problem. And what I will also do is take this out so that it will match the variable. I mean, the difference between 45 and 35 is not that significant unless you have a good monitor and good eyes. So 35, 35, 35 should do pretty good. I'll leave that as is. Alright, time to switch to playlist. Just a second, I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back on the Energetic playlist now, which I'll also post in the chat. Alright, so the color for this is going to be pulled from Pineapple Nav Color. So we're going to use for Pineapple. In fact, let me use Pineapple Header Color. And then what I'm going to do is put a new variable that pulls from Pineapple Nav Color. The reason for this is similar to in my framework, I know certain styles pull from other styles, but I default, but you can then switch that around if you choose to. So, like say if you just wanted to restyle the headers, you could separately pull out the header variable and change that and leave everything else intact. But I think it's pretty cool to have things kind of cascade from one variable to the next. Makes CSS fun for me personally. Based on what I was reading from one of the linters, well, from a linter that I use in Atom. I can't remember the exact reasoning behind it, but I think it improves performance or something like that. I have to double check, so don't quote me on that. But still good to keep your CSS in alphabetical order where possible. can change the height maybe to like 10 to give it some more room. And then the next thing we want to do is add a margin at the bottom. So 0, 0, 5 character 0. Much better. You know what? Let me add a spacer class as well, so I can actually give some spacing at the bottom of this page. I don't usually add space to the bottom of the page by default, because that I think should be up to the designer and what they choose to do. So I'm going to just add a class that allows you to do that on your own. Maximum of 100 pixels. So then over here, I'm going to add a pointless div. Oh, I wrote that incorrect. Good, so now we have some space at the bottom. Looks much better. Reason today my headset keeps slipping out of position. I don't know why it won't stay still. Trying to find that pineapple document is somewhere in here, but I don't see it. There it is. Alright, so all these styles now are going to go underneath pineapple document, so I can find them back easily next time I need to modify them. Now I don't always use the element itself as a selector, but in this case I will, because it's already within a class, and I think it's pretty reasonable to use it like that. But with some of my frameworks, I use classes just about everything. So for instance, in Anole, or Anole if you want to pronounce it that way, in that particular framework, just about everything is a class. So you couldn't do this, for instance, and just use H1. You would have to actually add a class to it. Or I believe the way I wrote it is that you have to use Anole text as the class, and then you can use it like this. But otherwise, you have to have a class to call it. But in this case, since it's a document class, I'm going to just add those styles to the element itself. But it does mean that outside of that particular class, it won't have any effect. and that's a trade-off you have to choose when you're writing a framework, in terms of what experience you want designers to have when they're using your particular framework. Because for instance, you could decide, like with frameworks like Bootstrap, for instance, they take over just about everything. I mean, I haven't used Bootstrap since version 3, so I'm not sure if version 4 or version 5 have changed. But I know in Bootstrap version 3, basically every element was styled for you out the box. So your paragraphs, your spans, headers, everything were styled out the box, which can be good in a sense. So if you want to do rapid design based on whatever is handed to you, then that's the method that you would use. Personally, I prefer, if I'm going to be doing a design, to have more control. So I kind of found that annoying after a while, and I had to keep on doing it. And eventually then I decided, you know what, I'm not using Bootstrap anymore because that just got too frustrating. So my personal suggestion to any designer building a framework, if you're going to build a framework, decide what kind of experience you want your user to, or the end user, the designer, whoever you're referring to have in the end. Font size on this is going to be, let me go with 1.25 rem. Yeah, that works. Alright, and then I'll just come down incrementally for each smaller header. I can clean this up too by using a wildcard, so I'll get to that soon. Let me just double check that I have this correct. Alright, this here should be 0.1. 4 will be 1. 5 will be 0.9 or 0.95. Yeah, 0.95, and then 6. 0.85. Alright, so let's see how these look. These should be headings, not headers. No fault of Visual Studio Code, but this would be a little bit faster if I did it in Atom because of an extension I installed. I hope I can find one that does the same thing in Visual Studio Code to save me having to go through and type this over and over again for each one. There are also extensions that can do this stuff automatically. They iterate and basically change the values and everything, but I have to double check on stuff like that. Alright, good. So those look as I want them to. But what I need to do now is grab a wildcard, and I have the syntax for that somewhere in this document, so I don't need to spray my brain, I just need to find it. Here it is. So I'm going to switch over to the Cucumber, do a little work on that, and then hop off of the stream. So not too much longer on this particular section. Alright, so what I wanted this wildcard selector for, is to put the letter spacing for each of them up in there and save me some space. Instead of having to duplicate that code over and over and over again, just do the wildcard and rehit once. Good. Now the next thing is margin 0, 0. Oops, you know what, I forgot to change this to H instead of... No, this should be, oops, not class, this should be... Actually, you know what though? I don't remember, this may not actually work for... Yeah, so let me not use a wildcard for that. I don't remember how to do this in the way that I want it done. So, pineapple, document. I had even forgotten to change what was in the wildcard anyway, so no effect was being applied. Kind of silly of me. Might actually come back and divide this into columns and put some other elements up in there, but for the time being that's enough for this evening. This needs to be moved out to a variable, doesn't it? It already is a variable. I don't know why it wasn't put in there. Right. Okay, so that's enough pineapple for now. No pizzas involved in this particular project. No one needs to panic. Alright, so as I said, I'm going to work on cucumber as well, so let me just pull that up. Just like I made that when I open one and don't edit it, it automatically closes it when I open something else. Slightly annoying. Now if you're wondering why I've opened the same CSS file twice, it's so that I can keep the variables visible and keep whatever it is I'm working on separately visible. Forget that particular thing doesn't do its job. Alright, show live server preview. Just checking something here to make sure that I don't need to fix anything in terms of sizes or anything like that. I do need to fix one thing, which is this footer down here. At a certain height, it should actually become opaque so that it's readable. Or if it doesn't become opaque, it should change from position absolute to query. Well, you don't support. Really? Alright, media screen. And it should be media only screen, I think it is. And max height. Let me double check if I have this right. I can't remember for sure. I got it right the other day and I was so proud of myself because years and years of writing CSS and I never seem to get media queries correct. Now I'm forgetting again. So I'm going to cheat and I'm going to open another project and take a look at that and see if I have the correct syntax. Alright, so media only screen and max width. Have it correct. I'm proud of myself. I wonder if this is positioned absolutely as well. I don't remember. In fact, I'm doing all that scrolling, I could have just gone straight to here. Alright, so that's cucumber header. And we will add a transition to this so that it moves a little more smoothly. So all 1 second, 0.235 seconds, and ease in out. Let me move this up to cucumber header itself. This particular server extension is not as smooth in my opinion, but at least it does the trick of letting me see what it looks like. It will look much better resizing in a browser, like a dedicated browser. Alright, time to change this playlist again, but I am nearly done for today. As you can tell, I'm not as energetic as usual, but don't worry, I'm still living. I'm fine. do I need to fix? Button size, probably because those buttons remain huge. What are they actually styled by? Nav secondary. Padding that needs to change at that particular size and the font size, I believe. Let's cut this in half. There we go, much better. I think these tooltips take too long to show up, so I'll fix that as well. Originally when I did them, I wanted to just demonstrate, that they could be done, but I want to make them look a little better now, so let me find out what they're styled by. There's a delay. Alright, so let's speed them up a bit. Letter spacing is a little too wide. Let's just go to 1 pixel for that. Not wide enough now. Still giving me some challenges. I see why it causes fake content. Let's take that out. Alright, that's much better now. Still think this font size should be slightly bigger. better font tool, but I don't have Google Fonts open right now to grab one. Let me see what fonts I'm using up in here. Montserrat, and who else? That's it. Really? Wow. Okay. I'll probably have to come back to that and choose another font to use on the tooltip. So let me add it. I forget that this does not have the extension that I have in Atom. All habits die hard, as they say. Think of anything else I want to add to this for now, so I may actually just call it quits today. My design juices are flowing in other directions, but at least I still managed to clean this up a little bit, and it still looks pretty good. Oh, one quick thing that I'll do here. I want to give the tooltip some more spacing. So padding, let's go with 15 px for that, and of course I need to add box sizing and make it border box so that it doesn't go outside of the width that it's supposed to be. Much cleaner now, although the problem is stuff with a lot of text is gonna have some issues. So alright, let me turn this down to 10. Still a problem. Can't please everyone when it comes to design, not even yourself. A better font will make this look a little better though, because the current font isn't doing too well at those smaller sizes. I'll choose something that looks a little better than that. Alright, I think that's that for now. I will show you quickly before I head off some of what I'm working on for the near future. Just bear with me while I get Atom started. I've been working on some new themes, or aka templates. I never know what to call them. Themes, templates, designs, whatever, you know. Yeah, but I've been working on some new content that's going to be on my store as well. I may start giving away some HTML themes here and there just for the sake of it, because I do this not only to sell them but for fun. So yeah, I may give away some here and there. Yeah, but as I said, I've been working on some new stuff and also a new framework. One of the things that you'll learn about me that's a little strange compared to most people, even most web designers, I sometimes sit and write CSS frameworks for fun, and I say that online a lot, and I know some people probably are like, alright, that line is getting old, but it's the truth. I actually sit and I write CSS frameworks for fun, so, or sometimes for therapy. Like if I'm feeling depressed or whatever, I will sit and write a new framework for therapeutic reasons. So I'm actually gonna, as strange as that sounds, is exactly as it is, but yes, I'm actually gonna show you some of what I've been working on recently. So let me just start Atom, the Atom Live server, so you can actually get a look at it. also see some of this on my website, but I'm on the dev environment right now, so some of this stuff is not uploaded yet. Right, I started working on a new theme called Carl Sands. This is a screenshot of it, but let me show you the actual theme itself. It is obviously incomplete, but the idea is that I'm building more of a modern theme. I'm trying to get the scroll snapping working as well, but that has been giving me some trouble. When that is actually implemented, you'll be able to scroll from the top here and jump straight to down here. You know, that fancy stuff that most people include in their sites these days for no actual reason. But yeah, I'm gonna be doing different sections of the website like that, and possibly in the future I may convert it to using React or Vue or something else, so that you can actually switch between tabs and switch between URLs, you know, use some routing and stuff, and make it a little more versatile. But for now, this is how it looks. And all of my themes, by the way, the CSS file doubles as a framework, because you can reuse these styles for your own content, so you don't have to just use what I have here in this particular layout. I'm also planning that when you come down here, the color of the nav will change, but I have to implement that as well. Alright, I could demo Navigator, but that one is kind of incomplete. And well, when I say incomplete, I implemented quite a bit, but I don't want to show that off till it's actually in a good position. Steel is also coming along really well. Turco is named after a bird, but I haven't designed it yet. It's going to be green, so I think it's going to be interesting. And Abdicate is kind of another modern theme, but I haven't really done too much work on that one. I'm going to show you in a couple minutes another thing I was working on, which is actually a framework that I started writing just for fun. I was bored and I started writing a framework, so I'll show you that shortly. But in the meantime, oops, let me show you Steel. Steel is also coming along quite nicely. Each page will have a different picture as the background. And as I said, the CSS file doubles as a framework in and of itself. These layouts have not been implemented yet, by the way, but there will be multiple layouts of Steel as well, which I think is pretty cool. All of that will be implemented through CSS. The only thing that JavaScript will have to do in this particular theme is apply those layouts, but everything will be included in the CSS file. So if you're really into learning CSS, when this becomes available, when this theme becomes available, I would recommend going out and grabbing it, because there will be some really cool stuff in there, including how to use variables to switch your layouts and stuff like that on the fly, which is similar to Photogenic. I don't know if you're new to my stuff, you wouldn't have seen it, so I'll probably have to show that too. But Photogenic actually has that built in. You can switch your layout in Photogenic by just clicking a button, and it happens live. Alright, and then there are going to be 3 variants to Steel as well. And how that will be implemented is, again, using CSS custom properties, aka variables, where all they have to do is change the value of the variables, and they can change the entire look of the website. So right, that is the plan for that. Then I'll have some extensions, and you'll be able to purchase it when it is ready. So let me go back to templates. I'm going to show you that framework I mentioned shortly, but let me just show you Photogenic for those who have not seen it. And really and truly, why I'm showing you this is to show you how easily you can switch between the different layouts. So you have this layout with the toolbar at the top. And I just opened a section, by the way. So I switch layouts to layout number 2. This one actually uses CSS to flip the layout around, and even them to scroll on the left hand side, which if you don't know how to do that, go grab the theme from my store. That's teespring.rolandxr.pro, and let me actually send that in the chat so you all can hop over there as soon as you're ready. But yes, cool thing is this actually uses CSS, so it should work in just about every modern browser, and yeah, I think it's pretty cool, because where else do you see that out there, where you actually flip the scroll bar to the other side of the window? Right, and then so as I said, you have these different layouts, and you can switch between them on the fly. All that stuff is basically CSS doing the work. All JavaScript does is apply different classes. So like all the transitions, animations, everything you're seeing, all of that is CSS. The only thing that that JavaScript is doing, as I said, is changing which classes apply to which. And it's surprisingly simple JavaScript too. Just a short script I wrote that has like maybe 3 functions, I think. So yeah, it's very simple stuff. Alright, so the last thing I want to show you today is that that framework I started working on. And it's called Already CSS. So this is a new framework that I started developing recently. Just out of the blue, because I was bored. And you'd be surprised at how quickly I got this together. I mean, it doesn't have a whole lot in it yet. It's no bootstrap yet, but it will get there. But yeah, I developed this in one night, just sitting down playing around. It's surprisingly short, obviously, with the amount of time that I worked on it. But yeah, it is an actual framework. And my point in saying all of that is this: that you don't have to spray your brain to write a CSS framework, and it's actually pretty fun. It's a good experience, and it's a very good way to improve your skills, because you have to think like a developer and not so much a designer, in that you're thinking of building blocks rather than thinking of where things will fall on the page. Because like all these things are really just building blocks that I have laid out like this for the sake of demonstration purposes, but I can move stuff around and show you how it will adjust. So let me quickly do that from the bottom. Alright, so on the home page you'll see this happen live. You won't see the code, but on the home page I have 2 sections. If I take out one of them, I believe it should do it. Let me double check something because there's a trick I have in here that should cause the section to change its width depending on one simple change. I'm trying to remember what it is. Oh right, yes. If the section is the only child, that's how it should work. So yeah, this I think was set to 85%. Doesn't look quite like 85 though, so I'm not sure if I forgot something or whatever. But yeah. But right, so basically how I have it set up is supposed to change how things work, how things look, depending on how many items are in the container, and how many well, where things are positioned, sorry. Oh, and the other thing is, the other cool thing is these are actually heading elements, not headers. These heading elements are actually positioned absolutely, but you can check out the code on the GitHub page. Let me actually drop the link to that. The cool thing is those headings, as I said, they're positioned absolutely, and they actually well, the different heading levels adjust to suit where they're located and that kind of stuff, so it's pretty cool. Just type in this link here. Alright, so you can go check that out on your own convenience and look at the source code. And another cool trick that I implemented on this, the buttons actually are colored only by CSS filters. Well, when I say only, they have a standard color, but then they're recolored by CSS filters. So when you click on a button, a filter is applied and it actually desaturates it, changes the brightness, etc. These buttons, the standard buttons and links, don't have any visible change because I need to actually give them a color on hover for that to work. So I haven't implemented that yet, but it works on the other button styles, which I think is pretty cool. So you can check that out as well. And it's free, by the way. This is not one you have to buy. This is a free framework you can check out. I'll be working on just as a hobby. Not any big plans for it per se as yet, but who knows? Eventually, I may release it as a full-fledged project. Alright, so that is basically it. Done enough showing off in one evening, and yeah, you can go and check out my my frameworks and stuff on my website. If you go to rolanddixr.pro/code/frameworks, you should be able to find these here. And if you go to libraries, you should also find some libraries that I've developed, which should be Flexible. Flexible isn't completed yet, by the way, but that is a Flexbox library. I have toolbox.js, which is extremely simple, but I only use it for I use it in the real world, but I use it for simplifying my job basically. So you can check that out if you feel like. And Iguana is an image filter library. But yeah, that's that. That's a wrap. So see you all next week. You can follow me on Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube at rolanddixr, all are the same now. And I'll be back next week probably with a painting stream, but you may also see me maybe this weekend or during the week next week, because as I said, I'm improving my schedule, so I'm going to have some other streaming days as well to come in the near future. Alright, so that's that for now. See y'all next week.